Dear God of Gaming, I must have known that as soon as I covered River City Ransom EX that I was going to do all other games that was developed by Million. This time around, it's the remake of the classic arcade game Double Dragon. Now, when I say the arcade game, I don't mean by the NES port or interpretation of it. I mean the arcade game, which all hopes are dashed when Million personally, never really updated the controls on this game. More on that later. The game was developed by Million, published by Atlas, and released in 2001. I already went into Million in my review of River City Ransom EX, and don't really feel the need to really go over it again. These are the same guys who did River City Ransom EX, and that's enough said as far as other games I've reviewed by them. The graphics are what they are. It's a perfect port of the arcade game. Considering this is a 2001 GBA game, it's also one of the better looking games for the system. There's not a lot that I can say that you can't say about the arcade game, so top-notch effort, I guess. The I.O. is also pretty much a perfect port of the arcade game. Again, there's not a lot I can say about it. Can't say about the arcade game, so yet again, top-notch effort, I guess. The problem is that this game, I didn't grow up playing the arcade game. The only arcade I ever really played at, I didn't really have a lot of money when I was a little kid. The only arcade game I really got to play and love was the Simpsons arcade game, and a lot of people would say, oh, that's probably one of the greatest arcade beat-em-ups of all time. That was my only real exposure to, very much the arcade systems at that time. Well, maybe that, Mortal Kombat 3 a little bit, and there was another game, it was a Superman arcade game that I thought was pretty cool. The gameplay has not aged well at all. Like I said before, it's pretty well, a somewhat perfect port of the arcade game. The problem is that this game is dated as hell. Hey, if you're a fan of the game, and you have fond memories of it, then definitely go check it out. And I'm using that as very much as a warning, because this is my personal feeling of it, and it just kept beating into my head how dated this game feels. I really just think it's a mediocre game because I grew up with the NES port of the game, and here's why. The big thing is that the game controls like the main character has a stick up his butt. Moving around is even enough to, but attacking feels jerky, stiff, and it's hard to consistently land hits. This led to me getting hit seemingly cheaply all the time and very frustrated. And it wasn't the kind of frustration where it was like, oh, I feel like I'm learning the controls, I'm learning how to play it effectively. It's like the cheapness of it where it's like, oh, screw this game, I'm done. Another problem is that while there's a standard 2-player mode where you play as Billy and your buddy plays as Jimmy, there is a 1-player mode where you have to switch between both Billy and Jimmy. This leaves the other open for attacks when enemies are around. I just have to wonder, why would you ever play this mode? If you're a newbie like me, it's already hard enough game. Why would you artificially make it harder? While I do appreciate pieces of history like Double Dragon, I think this time around I've been spoiled rotten by games like Double Dragon Neon and the NES version. Those two games just wiped the floor with the arcade game, but it shows how far we have come as an industry. Its gameplay is still worth mention and should be tried at least once in its arcade form, and I think, the arcade version of this game on Double Dragon Advance, it's definitely worth a check out, but, I won't be returning to this game anytime soon. Overall, Double Dragon Advance is a great nostalgic trip for any fan of the classic arcade game. I never played the arcade version, but I think it should be experienced if you can play it to really see the roots of, the late 80s, early 90s beat-em-up stage that eventually led to games like Final Fight. If you want my honest opinion that has no historian bias, then I think this game is infuriating and hard by design and hampered by really stiff combat and controls. So as a piece of history, or as a classic game you remember, I give it an 8 out of 10, but for my own personal preference, I would give it a 5.5 out of 10. I just can't get past how really stiff this game feels, and I could really not see myself ever getting remotely close to finishing this game. So if you are a fan of the series, I would definitely go out and pick it up, but for me, it's not for me. Like, you know, this is just my personal opinion of this game, so I don't know. It's just that, you know, I get why this was such a great game for when it came out. It's just that, you know, going back to it with no prior knowledge besides the NES port, I just can't play this game and really enjoy it like I feel like I should.